So this week I thought we would try doing something a little bit different. Rather than doing upgrade videos, I thought I'd walk you guys through some general troubleshooting videos. Since as an airsoft arena, we're always having guns that are in various states of disrepair and need to be serviced, so I thought it might be a good opportunity to go through some of that. So our first gun today, this is a G&G combat machine, CM16. It's got a couple of problems. Number one, the barrel came loose inside of its mount, which is a common issue with these. And also, the receiver broke off. And I actually went to get a second receiver to replace it, and this one's broken in the same exact place. So I had to find a third receiver, which we have here. So this will be our donor receiver. Looks like it's time to start ordering some new spare parts here. So this repair is a pretty straightforward one. In fact, it could be easily solved by the people at the factory if they wanted to get ahead of this by just putting some blue Loctite on the set screws, and that would pretty much end the problem altogether. And this is something that we've seen, I mean, for years and years and years we've been dealing with this. Not a catastrophic thing. It's really kind of minor in the general realm of airsoft repairs, but it's one of those sort of annoying things that, you know, you got to unfortunately deal with from time to time. So for those of you that are interested in doing this, we'll walk through a couple of bits of this. First of all, the way the G&G's delta ring works is it's not like a standard delta ring. There's actually three parts to it. There is the part that the gas tube locks into, slots into a couple of, it has like dovetails in it, so it fits into those, and that allows you to remove that. And then you have the delta ring, the spring. I actually should say four parts, because then you have the barrel nut inside of there, which is this guy here. So pretty easy to get this taken apart if you need to remove it. In the case of this gun, where we're just going to be pretty much chucking this one, you know, I'll probably want to strip it further down, get all the parts out of it that I can. We have another one here. This one has already been stripped down to the barrel nut. You can see we still have the barrel mount on it. I'm sure there's a better name for it. So we'll just go ahead and put these parts onto the existing delta ring that we have here. For reassembling it, you have to make sure that this ring here it's a compression ring, needs to be lined up. There's a gap here, needs to be lined up with where the gas tube goes in. So you can get a screwdriver in there, just some way of prying it over. We're just going to move this guy so that it's lined up with the gas tube hole. That way the tube will fit through it like that. So that's that. Then you have your spring. Once again, there's a gap in the spring that's going to line up with your gas tube. And your delta ring has a notch in it that lines up with the gas tube. And then you have the little retaining part here that has the notches, the indexing notches for the gas tube. So we want to do the blue Loctite thing on the barrel before we reassemble it. I would generally recommend this to anybody that has bought a G&G gun, whether you've had it for years or whether you've just purchased it. It's always a good idea to go ahead and Loctite the set screws on it. Save you some headaches in the future. Here in an indoor arena where parts fall off, we generally readily get them back because they really don't have any place to go. In fact, every week when we clean the place up, we generally find a bucket full of spare parts that have fallen off of either customer guns or rental guns. So it's been actually a pretty readily available source of replacement parts for us. In fact, usually what we end up with is a bin, and then once a month I'll go through the bin and sort it out and save the parts for, you know, other repairs that we're doing. Kind of a self-supporting ecosystem here of sorts. So we're going to put our gas tube in. There's a little hole where the gas tube goes in through the front dust cover there. And then this, your gas tube is going to go through here into your receiver, and then the barrel will just simply fit in. Once again, there are two set screws here that hold the barrel in place. We're going to Loctite those. I've already dripped some Loctite here on the on the workbench, so I'm just going to use that little puddle of it to get some Loctite on the set screws. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and remount this onto the lower receiver. The wires are just going to fit through this little section here. We'll go ahead and put the barrel in first. So here is our barrel. So we are going to put our barrel in place. We'll pull this back a little bit so we can get the wires in there. The upper receiver kind of flexes, so you could just sort of push the lower receiver down into it. And then we're going to feed the wires in through the little hole at the bottom here. And there's two of them, obviously, so we'll get both of them in there. And sometimes you need a pair of needle nose to feed it through. This time I got lucky and they both went through pretty easily. So we'll push the barrel into place. Pull the wires through so that the wire is going along the side of the gearbox in the mag well there, so it's not going to interfere with the magazine. And then we're just going to go ahead and put the receiver back together, put the pin back in, and this gun is essentially ready to go again. Just need to put the battery wires back onto it. In the case of rear wired guns, I've gotten into the habit of shrink tubing these together because they get pulled apart. Every time the person adjusts the stock, it generally easily rips the wires apart, where front wired ones, we have less trouble with that. So I think in the next batch of rental guns that I get, we're probably going to go with mostly front wired guns because it's just less problematic for us, because we're not constantly having to re-splice the wires back together. So this gun is working again. We're going to go ahead and just roughly reassemble it. And there's our first gun of the day. All right. Hopefully this gives you guys an idea of things you can look for with doing troubleshooting on guns. And that's about it. So stay tuned for the next video. And until then, don't let the bastards get you down.